For Willis Morgan, July 27th, 1981 would have been just another regular day. Working at the Miami Herald at the time, Morgan decided to grab lunch at a nearby shopping center. It was a run-in with Jeffrey Dahmer that would make that day memorable for the rest of his life. To Morgan, there are two names intertwined connected to a tragic case: Dahmer and the son of America's Most Wanted host Adam Walsh. Morgan had experienced a random encounter with Dahmer at the shopping center at the same time that Walsh disappeared. In his new book, Frustrated Witness, the story of the Adam Walsh case and police misconduct, Morgan recounts the day Walsh vanished and makes a compelling case as to why Dahmer and not Otis Toole is his true killer. Morgan is with us on the phone. Thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome. I'm glad to be here.
This is a really compelling account, this book, Frustrated Witness. So I just went over the story very briefly. Tell us what happened about this encounter.
Well, I was in Radio Shack. I was on my way to the German deli in that mall to eat lunch, and I decided to stop off in Radio Shack when I had this guy come into Radio Shack, came up to me, and he was just standing there disheveled, dirty, reeking of beer, and trying to start a conversation with me, just standing there smiling at me, asking me about the weather, saying hi, and, it's a nice day, isn't it? Stuff like that. And it was just very strange because I didn't answer him, and he was kind of upset about that, and he wouldn't leave. He was just standing over me. But finally he did stomp, literally turn around and stomp out of the Radio Shack when he didn't get a response from me. You could see he was quite angry, and I had this gut feeling somebody was going to be in trouble because I just gave you a very brief encounter of what happened. But it lasted several minutes, and it actually became very, very intense. And I just had this feeling, so I was watching him, and I watched him walk into Sears, and then I watched him walk into the toy department. And he didn't come back out. So my thinking at the time in 1981 was he probably was playing the video game, so I left and went home. I didn't even bother eating lunch. I just wanted to get out of there because that encounter was that bizarre. I didn't want another encounter with him. So that evening, that very same evening, I heard on the news about an abduction. And my first thought was that guy did it. He actually did it. Because I just was my gut feeling. But never in 1981 did I think a 6-year-old kid would be in trouble. I was thinking he was going to go up to somebody my age. I was 34 at the time. This guy appeared to be in his early 20s. Later I found out he was 21. And that was 10 years later that I found that out. When I saw a mugshot in the paper, I worked for the Miami Herald. And while I was doing paper check, I came across this article about something up in Milwaukee, and it had a mugshot of this guy. And I didn't even read the article. I just freaked out. I knew that was the guy. And I took that mugshot back to the Hollywood Police Department with me. But first I called the Miami Herald Library up, and I asked them for the composite that ran back in 1981, 10 years earlier, of the person that abducted Adam Walsh. And they sent me the composite, and I took it to the Hollywood Police Department, and I showed it to them, and I told them, I said, look, this is the guy I saw in the mall. Of course, I went to them in 81 also, but they didn't want to listen to anything I had to say back in 81. And when I showed him that composite, I could tell the lead detective, his jaw dropped, because he knew something that I didn't know. And that was that I had the wrong composite. That wasn't from the Hollywood Mall. It was from another mall. And so later in 2008, when I got a hold of the case files, that's when I realized that was the wrong composite. And I started contacting all the other witnesses and found out they also say that was Jeffrey Dahmer that they had an encounter with. But in 81, the police were dismissing all these other encounters as being relevant to the encounter at the Hollywood Mall where Adam was abducted. And now, all of a sudden, that I was showing them other composites that were the same, and they realized that I believe, this is my opinion, I have no way of knowing what they actually thought because they don't speak to anyone, that I think they realized that everything was connected, and now all of a sudden they went into cover-up mode. There's an old saying, when you mess up, never fess up, and I think that's what they're doing. Because they did close the case in 2008, and they pinned it on the wrong guy. And they knew it was the wrong guy when they were doing it. And, again, that's my opinion. But I know that because I went to them even in 2007, because I've been going to them ever since it happened. When the new police chief, Chad Wagner, took over the police department, I tried to get an appointment with him, and I finally did. And I explained to him what had happened to the police department, to his detectives, and all they did was threaten me with arrest.
Wow. What about John Walsh? What does he believe?
Well, the problem with John Walsh is these detectives that were on the case originally that messed the case up so bad, and that's why he wrote his book, Tears of Rage, mostly because of his rage over the investigation of his son's case. But yet, still, one of these detectives, when John Walsh got that TV show, America's Most Wanted, he heard about it, called John Walsh up, befriended him, and John Walsh hired him on the TV show. And a lot of people don't realize America's Most Wanted had one of these detectives, these bumbling, stumbling detectives, as the lead investigator on America's Most Wanted. So John had one of them right in his midst all these years, feeding him false information about his own son's abduction.
Huh. Tell us about Mia Taylor.
Mia Taylor was in the store the day before Adam was abducted with her 10-year-old brother, her mother, and her two older brothers. But Mia and her younger brother, Joel, who was 9, Mia was 10, were in the toy department when Jeffrey Dahmer tried to abduct Joel. But he was saved because a security guard showed up, and her mother showed up, and Jeffrey Dahmer fled. And she was also there the very next day, which would have been Monday, July 27th, 1981, the day Adam was abducted. And she actually saw Dahmer taking Adam by the fingertips and walking out with him.
Wow.
And there's another witness that was there Monday, the day before, the week before, the very week when she saw Dahmer in that toy department. So Dahmer was there numerous times. That wasn't the first time he was there. And 2 Mondays before, which was July 13th, was another incident in the Riviera Beach when a mother, Ginger Keaton, took her 10-year-old son to the mall, and he stayed back in the toy department, exactly like what Ray Walsh did with Adam. And Dahmer came into the toy department and tried to abduct him. But being 10, he did get away, and there were composites, and that was one of the composites I took back to the Hollywood Police Department that I had wrong, the wrong composite, like I told you, was from another incident 2 Mondays before the Adam Walsh abduction. And again, the police weren't able to make the connection because they had their suspect, they believed, which was John Walsh's house guest. And they believed he was their suspect, and they had blinders on. There were other police chiefs from other departments, Miami Beach police chief, Plantation police chief, the police chief in Deerfield Beach and Riviera Beach. All these other cities were calling the Hollywood Police Department, telling them that they had incidents that they believe were connected because the suspect matched, everything matched. And yet they were just completely dismissing even other police chiefs from other police departments.
This makes one heartsick, because if it had all been believed and acted upon, lives would have been saved.
I believe, I don't know if anything would have saved Adam, but certainly they would have captured Dahmer. They should have, and all those murders in Milwaukee may never have happened.
Yeah.
I even found the crime scene where I believe Adam was murdered, and I found it through a police report that has Jeffrey Dahmer's name all over it, dated July 7th. This is 20 days before Adam was abducted. But in that police report, Dahmer is just a witness to a dead person that was found behind the store where he worked. But after I read the report, and everything in the report is in contrast to what he told his boss, Ken Halbert, I believe that Dahmer murdered Adam in that meter room because his blood spatter going up a wall that has been described as being indicative of a homicidal pattern. And as positive for blood, it was tested with a field kit. But we could never get DNA out of it because of the time, the humidity, the climate, the lime in the mortared wall made it impossible to get DNA analysis. But it did test positive for blood, and it is indicative of a homicidal pattern. So somebody died in that meter room, and it wasn't that derelict that was found behind the store where Dahmer was murdered because he had no blood on him.
We're just about out of time. What do you hope readers will take away from your book, Frustrated Witness?
Well, they closed the case and they pinned it on this guy, Otis Toole, as you said.
Yeah.
But I want everyone to know it was not Otis Toole. He had nothing to do with Adam's murder. And I have a website with all the case files that people can go and look at. And that's justiceforadam.com. I have another website called frustratedwitness.com, and I have a Facebook page titled Frustrated Witness that you can get much more information on. And the book is sold. Frustrated Witness, my book, is on Amazon.com.
Okay. And the website frustratedwitness.com and justiceforadam.com, was that right?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Willis Morgan is, are you retired now?
I am retired, yes.
Very nice. Retired and living in Florida. But you were with...
retired and trying to promote this book.
And but you had worked with the Miami Herald. Were you a reporter?
25 years. No, I worked in production. I was in the press room printing.
All right. Well, this is a fascinating, eye-opening case, and it's called Frustrated Witness, the story of the Adam Walsh case and police misconduct by Willis Morgan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.